Right. Aloha, everyone. Michelle Melendez with blossominnerwellness.com, standtogetherhawaii.com, and this is also on the Voice of Kona Radio 100.5 FM. I am here with Jack and Margie Flynn again, which is I'm just so privileged to be interviewing this couple. They are the founders of Citizens of the American Constitution.net. They have been helping people for over 70 years with constitutional law and taking back their rights that have been are being attacked, especially nowadays. But Jack and Margie, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Good to be here, Michelle. Good to see you.
So before we get started, I want to just do a quick plug for my sponsor of my channel, who is aceofcoins.com. If you guys have any tax issues, if you want to really understand your accounting of how it can better bring in more profits, if you want to license your biometric data, which is being used, which is your image, which is being used by big tech, if you want to understand how to go tax-free with crypto, you're going to want to go to aceofcoins.com. That's ACEOFCOINS.com. And there we go. So Jack and Margie, let's just first start with what's happening in Lahaina. And there is a bill that I'm going to be reading through, and I haven't read through it yet, but it is a bill that they want to do it's called Lele not a corporation, but a committee. It's called Lele Committee. And let me just actually show you guys. I did this on the other video, and hold on again. So I can't find the map right away, but this Lele Committee group is going to be set up. The governor is going to appoint these people, and then they say that the people during the election can elect other board members for this committee. And this committee is going to literally say what happens to the entire west coast of Maui, not just Lahaina. Not just Lahaina, it's the entire west coast of Maui. So that's what's going on. I am going to be reviewing the bill after our call and doing another video on that. But how is this? This isn't legal for them to be doing this, to literally take a whole committee that is appointed by the governor that then is going to go through zoning, that is going to be able to have eminent domain. It literally states that in Civil Beat, where they'll be able to literally take land from one person and give it to another. That's literally stated almost word for word in Civil Beat that they're going to be able to do this. But this is what Rosa Koire was talking about, isn't it? I mean, this is about planning, the planning department.
It is part of that. Rosa Koire was addressing the whole Agenda 21 and 2030 thing. And all of this is a trickle down from that, because make no mistake, your local people, including the governor, are not the ones that are coming up with these crazy ideas. This is something that's being driven from the top down. It's from the UN, it's from the globalists. And every single community in this country, not just on Hawaii, but everywhere, is facing the same problems. And it's kind of frightening to us because the people don't seem to realize that their local government has been usurped and is being driven by these globalist forces, which do not care what happens to the people in the local arena. They don't care at all. They have an agenda that they're going to follow, and this is a big part of it. And I would say, who is on this committee? How are they being chosen? What criteria? And who among the people are being represented? Probably no one. This is something that the people of Maui and actually Hawaii in general should be screaming to the rafters about, because this is taking away their rights and their voices and letting some arbitrary administrative committee have sway over an entire section of Maui. And we know that that's not going to end well. So yeah, this is a very big no-no. They might think it's, quote, legal, but it isn't lawful in terms of representing the best interests of the people, which is what all forms of government are supposed to do.
And what is the difference between legal and lawful?
Okay.
Oh, big difference.
Legal and lawful are two gigantically different things. Lawful is what is constitutionally correct and authorized. Legal comes down to all the statutes and codes and regulations and ordinances that are passed, most of which are not constitutionally compliant in any way, shape, or manner. So what they do legally is often not constitutional. And if it's not constitutional, then it doesn't have the validity of a law that should be allowed to affect the people in any way. This is what the people don't understand about the Constitution's protections of their inherent rights. And it's something they need to learn very quickly if they're going to stand up against this tyranny.
Anything in pursuance of the Constitution is lawful, okay? Not legal, but lawful. Remember, all legislative power is vested in a Congress, all right? So your Congress there would be the legislature or the city council, okay? Or the county council, whatever it may be. Now, when the county council creates laws for the people, those laws must be constitutionally compliant, specific to the Bill of Rights, or they're not law, because they're not in pursuance of the Constitution. And you can go to Article 6 of the Constitution to see that. All laws to be valid must be in pursuance of the Constitution. Bottom line here is, and again, we're bottom line people, this is being done because the people of Lahaina and the people of Maui have done nothing. I mean nothing, all right? Nothing effective. There's a lot of talk. There's a lot of bitching, screaming, and moaning, and what have you. A lot of complaints, but no lawful, effective action. Not once, not one piece of lawful.
Well, what I'm doing this week is I have submitted my second affidavit correctly, and that was almost 2 weeks ago. So it was 15 days. So it's on the 26th that I'll be able to file a complaint against the governor. And I actually did an interview with a 40-year lawyer who wrote How to Win in Court, and he's actually going to be helping me with it.
Good.
So that is something that we are doing. There are people not just in Lahaina, but all over the world who have submitted different your guys's affidavit that you gave the template to me. So I totally appreciate that. But you're right. It is hard because I know that the people in Lahaina are extremely traumatized. They're still homeless. And they a lot of them don't want to fight, and that breaks my heart. And it's both ways. It's like I understand the trauma. I mean, I don't understand that didn't happen to me, but I'm angry about it, and I'm like, our people were murdered. I was in a booth yesterday down in Kona town, and I was telling somebody, a lady, Lahaina was attacked, and she goes, well, what are we going to do about it? Like, not like it was like, it's not affecting my life. So I was just like, these children were incinerated by themselves alone in their house. It's like, we can't just ignore it. So I totally agree with you, Jack, around that.
Look, it's good that you and some other people are doing affidavits. That's good. But in order to be truly effective, you need the whole community or a large percentage of the whole community to do it. Okay. Now, once the governor and the others do not respond to the affidavit, then it's a question as to what you were going to do, okay? If you were joined by a massive amount of other people, or just in your own, if you wanted to, you could bring lawful legal action in court against the governor, all right? Because the governor, by not responding to your affidavit, admitted to and agreed with all of the charges and claims you made in that affidavit, fully binding upon him in any court without his protest, objection, or that of those who represent him, meaning his lawyers. So if he doesn't rebut, he's admitted to that. And the court only has really two functions, all right, to hear the truth and resolve the controversy. So the truth of the matter is the governor has admitted to all of your charges and claims. Therefore, there's no controversy before the court, and lawfully the victory is yours. All right. Now, if you were to do this yourself, that's very good. Okay, that's very good. However, if you were to do this with 30 or 40% of the people of Lahaina, then you have something to really deal with.
Okay. Well, I'm working on it. I have a couple of locals, hopefully more than a couple, but a couple that I know personally who have done the affidavit. But if you guys are watching, the affidavit will be in the link in the description. You have to copy and paste. YouTube doesn't let me do live links anymore because I won't verify myself. They literally want to scan my face or have me send them my driver's license, which I refuse to do.
No.
So you have to copy and paste the links in the description now. So the next topic I want to talk about is how we and I've keep telling people this is a corporation. The government is not a government, it is a corporation. I even had a little dispute with somebody because they're like, let's vote, you know, are you voting for JFK or sorry, Robert F. Kennedy? And I said, you guys, he's not wouldn't to run the country. I said, it's a corporation. The
That's
whole
right.
thing is a sham. So what I'd love for you guys to explain is who's running the corporation. Like all of these government agencies are literally, this one person was telling me that they're contractors. It's not even, they're not even government agencies, they're actually contractors who are kind of in sheep's clothing or wolf's clothing, or wolf in sheep's clothing, something like that. But
Right.
can you kind of explain about the corporation and who is actually really in charge of this country?
The real bottom line, and we're bottom line people, is this: the elite financial Jews control
Everything.
everything. They control Lahaina, they control the states, they control the Congress, they control the
The
president, they
military,
control the military,
everything.
all the banks, because they are the central bankers to the world, the Jews. So that's who controls that element. Now, I'm not talking about the little Jew who works in some factory or owns a
Shop or
haberdashery
something.
shop. I'm not talking about him. We all know Jews, and there are good Jews and there are bad Jews. The bad Jews are the elite Jews who want to rule the world, and they are ruling the world. Okay, so that's who. Now, how do they do it? They do it through the corporate structure, and we mentioned this before, but we'll get into it briefly again. In 1871, the Congress set forth a new constitution. Okay, that is what we call the corporate constitution for reasons I'll explain. That Congress had taken a vow of allegiance
An
to the
oath.
original constitution by and through an oath. Therefore, that Congress had no authority whatsoever to create a new constitution with new concepts and new positions. Okay, yet they did so. And when they did so, they created the corporate state. And every president and every Congress since then has upheld that treasonous corporate constitution created by a treasonous Congress. Every single one of them. Kennedy did it, Carter did it, Reagan did it, Bush did it,
Clinton, all of them.
Clinton, yeah, Trump, they all did it. All right. So they all technically committed treason. We live in a treasonous nation run by domestic enemies, and the American people do nothing to stop it. Just like the people in Lahaina. Yeah, you get a few people here, a few people there. They're complaining, but they're not doing anything lawful to stop it. Just like in America, no one is doing anything lawful to stop it. So that 1871 Constitution basically confirmed the first section of the 14th Amendment, by which all people in this country are considered US citizens. Well, the original Constitution didn't call us US citizens. We were the American people. We were the American citizens. We were one of the people. Margie and I are two of the people, you're one of the people, okay? And those people have all rights and all due process guarantees secured to us in that Constitution. The 14th Amendment created US citizens subject to the US corporation, okay? Only granted no rights whatsoever. You have absolutely no rights as a US citizen. You have immunities and privileges, and that's it. Granted by Congress, they can be taken away from you by Congress. Now, the original Constitution of 1787 didn't authorize a new constitution to be created by a treasonous Congress that changed the status of the American citizen into US citizen with no rights and no due process and no say in government whatsoever. But that's exactly what happened. Now, from that situation in 1871, the corporate state grew, not only in Washington, D.C., federally, but it grew throughout the states, it grew throughout the cities, so that now Every state is a corporation. Every city is a corporation. Every police department is a corporation. Every school department is a corporation, with few exceptions. Okay. So that's corporate state owes no allegiance to the people. It owes allegiance only to the corporation. So the people be damned. And the corporation will do what the corporation wants to do. And it's doing it everywhere. It's killing people. It's been killing people. How many people have died because of this phony COVID nonsense? How many people have died because of the spraying across the country? How many people have been killed that shouldn't have been killed? Well, the corporate state does whatever the corporate state wants because the people do not stop the actions of the corporate state. And that's really the bottom line.
Well, we're starting to, and I think it's, people, I mean, we are starting to stand up. If I would have known about this 3 years ago, oh my gosh, if I would have known about your guys' affidavit, we would have done that. And we did do affidavits through one of our preachers, our pastors here. So that I think that did help. But I want to read the 14th Amendment to people and explain it, because this is really interesting. So basically, when we're born, we have unalienable rights from God, from our Creator. They cannot be taken away. The Constitution doesn't give us those rights, you guys. The Constitution protects those rights from the government trying to take our rights, which is what they're doing right and left. But the 14th Amendment was created after the Civil War, and it literally says all persons born or naturalized in the United States. United States doesn't say United States of America. It says United States, which is a corporation, and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. And then it says, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges, you guys, not rights. It says shall abridge the privileges or immunities of the citizens of the United States. So it's very tricky wording. It's like people go, oh yeah, privileges. I want privileges. No, you have rights under God, not privileges. And then it says, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. So this is about privileges and immunities, not about rights. So that is the difference between a citizen, an American citizen, a U.S. citizen, and an American citizen who has rights under God. So yes, so I just wanted to share that so people understand a little bit more about what that means and the very tricky wording that the 14th Amendment has around letting people think that, yeah, that's good. Like I did. I was like, what are you talking about? When I first heard this, I was like, what are they talking about? Until I researched it and I was like, oh my gosh, they're right. Like when I first heard this and my boyfriend at the time was explaining this to me, I thought he was crazy. I thought, you are crazy. There's just no way that our government would do this, would kill people. And and then I started researching and I got so depressed I couldn't get out of bed for 3 days. I was crying like a baby because literally someone died, I died. What I thought the country was had died. And I even want to cry right now because it's a lot.
It is a lot.
So do you know of other people who are taking action, taking their government, their city council, county councils, using your guys' template of the affidavit to stop what's happening in the planning department? Do you know of any other states and any other citizens?
There are some people who are trying to mobilize groups to do just that. There are various people in various states. So far, there's been more talk than anything else because, like a lot of people, everyone thinks they have to know everything about everything before writing an affidavit, and that's a mistake. First, we have to understand the mindset. Now, you mentioned that you didn't know about this, and I would wager that most Americans do not know about this because of the tricky language. The words United States means DC. It doesn't mean the country of the United States of America. So they're talking about a very limited group of people. That amendment was really referring to the freed Black slaves post so-called Civil War, which we call the War of Northern Aggression. It doesn't apply to the American people on the land, which is why we style ourselves whenever we are going to write a document. We are living, breathing men and women on the land. American citizens, American nationals, or American citizen nationals, however you want to phrase it, and a citizen of your state, whatever. That's all up to the individual. Because you have to understand that the way they did this was so sneaky that the
That's
average
so
guy
sick.
would never know about it. And it was done in fraud. First of all, the Congress had no authority to do what they did. They committed treason by abandoning the original organic Constitution. So everything that came of that act and afterwards, because there was subsequent legislation after that act, by which they converted the cities and towns, states and counties in this country into federal territories and made them municipal.
That's
So they
right.
were municipal cities and counties and what have you. And they all fell under the hierarchy of the corporation in DC. That's how they've gotten away with this. And the language is so similar. People don't know that the state of Hawaii, all caps, is not the same thing as Hawaii or Hawaii state, upper and lower case. They don't know that. And it's by design because they want us to be ignorant. Because had we known about this decades ago, there might have been a true and genuine movement amongst the people to take these thieving communists out of office, try them for treason and hang them or shoot them and rid ourselves of this cancer and vermin that has totally infiltrated every aspect of our modern lives. But because people didn't know, and because they couldn't imagine something so ugly being done to them by their own so-called governments, they just sat back and watched the country descending into this pit that we're now in. And what they are facing right now is, do they have the will and the courage and the conviction to actually take lawful action? Because we, the people, are the genuine, true government, not the people running the offices.
Yes.
And we've spoken of this
It even-
before. That's the machinery of government. And we delegated a little bit of our authority to them to operate the machinery of government for the best interests and the well-being of the people, not for their own personal gain or the gain of the communists and the bankers and all of the other evil people that are manipulating everything from shoelaces to the sun. It's insane. I mean, we're really living in Planet Bizarro right now. And we have to recognize that. We have to separate ourselves from this madness and say, look, I realize this is a crazy world, but I'm not crazy. I'm a living, breathing flesh and blood woman. Okay, my rights are inherent in me. They come from my divine creator. However you see that creator source, that's perfectly fine, up to you. But that's where our rights come from. No one can give them to us or take them away. So we have to know that in our gut, okay? We have to feel it in our heart and soul. And if we have that conviction, then we have the courage to write affidavits, to stand up, to go to court, to make complaints, to do whatever we have to do. But we have to have that feeling in our gut. And this is why we were so frustrated in trying to help the people on Maui, because they don't have it in their gut. They have been brainwashed for a very long time. And there's a certain element among them that feel like they're helpless victims. And that will continue until somebody stands up and says, no, we're a strong and proud people. We're divine just like you are. And we're not going to put up with any more of your crap. And the governor of Hawaii is a traitor, as far as we're concerned.
Oh.
This man should be tried, convicted, and hanged for his treason. He sat by and let people be incinerated on Maui, cooperated with these evil ghouls and did nothing to help the people. And then you know what happened afterwards. They weren't getting aid. Aid was being blocked. Good people were trying to help. They were turned away. All of the insanity, corralling people on Front Street so they couldn't leave, so the fire would overtake them. Who does that? Except an evil, murderous bastard. And we have to recognize it. We have to stop bowing and giving respect and honor to these so-called political leaders, because they're not leaders. They are opportunists, usurpers. They're not leaders.
And that's why the governor can leave without listening to people's testimony. He walks out of the meetings and doesn't even listen to people's testimony because it's not a government.
No,
he's a corporation. He's the executive officer of a corporation.
Right.
So he doesn't have to hear people's testimony.
That's right. And he doesn't care what the people have to say, because he doesn't take his responsibility to be to the people, but to the corporate ghouls that are telling him what to do. All right. And these guys are bribed and they're blackmailed and they're threatened, whatever they have to do to get their minions, like these governors, to do what they want them to do. It's the same all over the country, and it's disgusting.
Look, again, the bottom line here is the corporate officers owe their allegiance to the corporations. They don't give a damn about the people. I said it earlier. Margie just said it again. You said it. Okay. The people don't get that. The corporate officers.
They're getting it little by little.
This is like General Motors or Firestone or
Exxon or
Bendix
somebody, yeah.
running the whole country. It's a corporation running the country. They don't give a damn about you, me, or the people. They have no concern. And they have no concern because the people have done nothing to stop them. Nothing. Okay. People have tried, small individuals, small groups of people over the eons have tried to stop government, especially in this country. Okay. But throughout the world, it's been not only here, throughout the world, small groups of people. Okay. However, when you bring it to America, those groups are so small and so scattered and so unaware of the existing realities that they use the wrong methods supplied to them by government to defeat government. That's not going to work. Okay. Never has worked, never will work. And guess what? The people have not figured that out yet. The American people are very slow.
We're figuring it out with you guys. You
Very
guys are
slow.
helping us figure this out.
We're trying to, it's a tough thing for us because on the one hand, we don't want to berate the people because we have compassion for them.
But we have to be truthful.
But we have to be honest about what the isolation of the problem is. We have to identify our true enemy. And we have to identify that we have aided and abetted that enemy by not standing up a
Absolutely.
long time ago. And yeah, there's lots of reasons, and some of them are even, I'd say, excuses, because when you're given false information and you're denied truth, it's very difficult to figure out what's real and what isn't. But we all have
Yes.
an innate nature that seeks truth, whether we realize it or not. And that nature
Absolutely.
drives us. So it gives us a calling, if you will, a responsibility to dig through the junk to figure out where the real gems are. And our gem in this country is the Constitution. Okay, that is the foundation, the creation, the blueprint for our entire government across the board. And the corporate monsters that are running the show have completely taken that Constitution and corralled it in a corner and thrown a drape over it so nobody even sees it. And they think it's just one of those nice little historical documents that sit on the shelf and collect dust. No, it was meant to be enforced and used every single day by every single one of us who are Americans. Every one of us. We have a right and a duty. And we didn't.
Yes, a duty. That's
yes. The duty is on us, because if we want to maintain our rights and live a free life, a truly free life, one that's not restricted and infringed upon by fake corporations who pretend to be governments, then we have to know what those rights are. And we have to know the limitations that are imposed on anybody holding a government position. So even if they're phonies and fraudulent because they're corporate, but they're pretending to be government, they're acting under an auspices as if they were government. So it's our duty to pull them out of office and say, no, you have perjured your oath. You stepped outside of the scope of your lawful, limited duties that we, the people, delegated to you by and through the constitutions. You don't have any authority to do anything. You're a criminal, and you're going to be taken to account personally for your actions, which were in treason to the Constitution and the true government, the people of these United States of America. That's the mentality that people have to carry, and they have to be able to stand up and speak with conviction of the heart, not go there and say, please, would you please not pass this bill because it's going to hurt our people.
Or
that's what happens.
You know,
or having other people
off our knees. Yeah, we got to get off our knees.
Absolutely.
Let
and I just want to say to all of you,
go ahead.
I want to just remind people that people who are watching this right now, do the affidavit. Just start there. If you're not sure where to start, the template is in the description. Copy, paste it. It'll open up for you. You can copy it into a Word document, into Pages. You can change the because what I put there is I put the governor, what constitutional amendments has he violated, and they were both from the U.S. Constitution and the Hawaii Constitution. So take that out and put yours in. What and probably a lot of them are also already what your governor and your county and city council have already violated. But use these templates. You know, it's frustrating sometimes because I'll ask people, you know, have you done something, and they'll say no. And yes, we're all busy, but how important is this country to you? How important is your freedom for your children? You know, yes, it's going to take an hour or two to do this, but we've done the work for you. Margie and Jack have the most amazing template that many people have written to me and said, Michelle, this is so outstanding. And I didn't write it. I just put in what the amendments to the Constitution that he has violated. This was their work, you guys. So the work has been done for you. You just have to take the stand. And I want to read something from the Declaration of Independence because it's really, really, really important. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator, not by the government, by their creator, with certain unalienable rights, that among these is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And this is the most important part, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the rights of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute a new government. So this is our Kuleana. This is our job to do that. And Jack, what were you going to say? Thank you so much.
Yes, I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you brought it up. Okay. To alter or abolish it. All right. That may be what we have to do because nothing else is working. Now, let me get back to your
Yes, correct.
question. Your question was a good question, and it will illustrate a point. Your question illustrates a point. That question is, have others used the affidavit to do various things? The answer is yes. Okay. However, as I think I mentioned before, okay, we have put out massive information over 70 years to people. And at best, at absolute best, 1% of those people pick up the information and do anything with it. 1/10 of 1% at best actually use the documents to take lawful effective action to win cases in court or out of court before court becomes necessary. So that gives you an example of the American people. Now, during this COVID crisis, we were contacted by people all over across thousands of people.
And you have to watch out what you say about the C word, because I got a video taken down from too many C words.
Oh, all right. I'm sorry.
It's okay. That
So,
C word is
freedom of
Something
speech.
special.
Huh?
Yeah,
Freedom
right.
of speech.
right,
Happen to
right.
freedom of speech, okay? And the
Exactly.
people are doing nothing about getting back their freedom of speech, like they're doing nothing about a lot of things. But let me get back to this position. So all of the people contacted us, especially during that period, and they said, what are we going to do? We've got to stop the school committee. We've got to stop the city from doing this, doing that. I want to protect my kids. What are we going to do? We said, do the affidavit, okay? We must have sent that out to, I don't know, probably it reached many millions of people, because when we sent it out, other people sent it out, other people sent it out. There were people across the country who stopped their school committees, who stopped the city government, who got medical examiners to resign, who got whole city councils to resign based upon the affidavit. But that was minuscule in terms of the people we presented the affidavit process to. Now, I told you at one time, well, during this particular time, people contacted us and said, we don't want to do what the government wants us to do, okay? We don't want to get involved in their process. So what are we going to do? If we don't get involved in their process, our company's going to fire us. And we mentioned this to you before. So many people contacted us, we wrote up an affidavit and we sent it out to a massive number of people. And one fellow or one group in the airline industry was particularly concerned about getting fired. So they got it out to massive numbers of people in the airline industry. Within 2 weeks, probably 10 days of this happening, all of a sudden, Southwest dropped its Band-Aid, okay? Yeah. Southwest was very adamant. You have to do what we tell you to do. You have to wear the mask, have to take the shot, and if not, you're going to be fired, okay? All of a sudden, they dropped the mandate. 2 days later, American did. Then that was followed by Delta and other airlines across the country, okay? And a massive amount of people across this country did not have to take the shot because of that affidavit. What that affidavit did was impose liability upon the corporations for any deaths or injuries sustained by their people. Now, the corporate entities are only concerned about money, profit, control. They don't give a damn about anything. But when the lawyers saw this, they said, whoa, wait a minute, wait a minute. We have to back up here. Because if
Mhm.
people start dying or are permanently injured for the rest of their lives because we follow this illegal mandate, all right, we're in trouble. And that's why this happened. And it happened all across the country. It spread to other industries, other
And
corporations and what have you.
municipalities too, because we were contacted by people who worked for road departments, firefighters, police officers, other types of city or town offices, because they were under the same threat, get the shot
Yeah.
or get fired. And they were able to not have to get the shot because of the pressure they brought upon their cities, towns, mayors, council members, etc. So if you do it correctly, and especially if you have numbers, this works very, very well. Because as I've
Yeah.
said forever, these people have no comeback for the Constitution. If they were to publicly admit that they don't care about the Constitution, then they would publicly expose the scam that government is not government, it's a corporate entity in business for profit on the backs of the people. So when they are faced
Correct.
with their duties pursuant to their oath and you stand firm and you don't back down, there's no place for them to go. And that's why if you do it right and you have conviction and you hold your position, you can prevail.
Conviction is the key.
We got this.
And
We
following
totally
through.
got this.
Now, roughly 2 months, maybe 3 months, 6 weeks, I'm not sure. After all of this happened, by and through the affidavit, it went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court killed the Biden mandate as unconstitutional. And our belief, and again, we can't prove this, but based upon the facts we've seen, our belief is
Seems
if it
likely.
weren't for that affidavit getting out to massive numbers of corporations across this country, that never would have happened. The Supreme Court would have upheld it, okay? So it can work, and it can work well with individuals, but it works much
Yeah.
better with massive
With more
groups
people.
of people.
Yes.
Now, we've won, and our people have won many thousands of cases, both in and out of court, all right? Every case was won with an affidavit. An affidavit started the process in every case. Now, I've mentioned this before. When I started this over 70 years ago, the intention was to get people to protect their country and bring constitutional governance back to their country and get rid of the communism that was controlling it 72 years ago, just as it is now. The people weren't interested in that, but they were interested in personal victories. So there've been massive
right.
amounts of personal victories over that time by and through the affidavit. Can you imagine if those many thousands of people had used the affidavit to go against their state government, their city government, their county government for unconstitutional actions? If that had happened then and continued over the years, we'd be living in a constitutional paradise instead of a communist hellhole.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine? That would be amazing. Because I sit here, on the Big Island, and the nature is just the birds, and I've seen owls at nighttime, and this nature doesn't know what is happening in this human world. This, like, the dolphins and the whales and the turtles that I've seen, and it's like the nature is like free. And that's the way we are supposed to be, because God gave us these unalienable rights, and that's us. So if you're watching this, if you haven't done an affidavit, do one. I can almost guarantee that someone in your government is violating the Constitution, perjuring their oath of office, and just get started with it. Even if you just take the template and print it out and just read it. And just start there, because we do have to do something. It's now or never, you guys. It's now or never, because our children, by the time they're our age, if we don't do something now, they will not know what freedom is. They won't know. So I just want to thank you guys so much. And Citizens of the American Constitution.net is their website. So if you want more information, they also have a freedom school as well. And I just so appreciate you guys, because I'm definitely an action person, and I would not have had any clue of how to start that affidavit, and it is so badass, let me tell you.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for that.
It's all constitutional, and that's the only thing we deal with, the Constitution,
Yeah.
okay? In terms
Love
of our website, on our website, as you just mentioned, Michelle, we have a
I'll bring it up.
constitutional teaching series, okay? It's free. Everything we do is free. We don't charge for anything. We do accept donations from those who can afford them, but we don't charge. So this constitutional teaching series is for serious people who want to do serious things to accomplish serious objectives. And the objective is to restore constitutional governance in this country. Are you with us, Michelle?
She's showing the website.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I have the website up for people.
Right, very
Citizens of
good.
the American Constitution.net.
Yes. And on the front page, you can access the constitutional teaching series, which consists of 10 episodes, about 20 hours long. If you're really interested in the country and learning your rights and learning how we can get rid of the communism that is ruling us day by day and return to constitutional governance, it would be very beneficial for you to really take this series very seriously.
Yes. It was done to
Yep.
empower the people. This is about restoring the people's comprehension and understanding of their inherent rights and the power and authority and protections that the Constitution portends for them and offers them if they will just use it. Think of it as having a treasure chest in your basement. If you don't go to the basement every once in a while and pull it out and take a look at what you've got, see how you're going to use it, it does you no good at all. And if we don't use our Constitution and we lose our country and our freedom because of our failure to hold government to their constitutional duties, then the onus and the blame has to be on we the people. So
Yeah.
we have to do
Uh,
it.
We
Yes,
have to stand
absolutely.
up for each other. We not only stand up for ourselves, stand up for each other.
Yes,
Because when
Mhm.
one American is affected, such as the people in Lahaina,
we all
we're
are.
all affected, for God's sakes.
That I
All of us.
100% agree. Yeah, that woman, she acted like yesterday, she acted like it wasn't, it wasn't affecting her life, so it wasn't a big deal. Those children were incinerated by themselves in their houses. And
Alone.
that's
Yeah.
like my child. I don't have children. So that was like, that's my sister, that's my child, that's my auntie, that's my uncle. You
Yeah.
know, and I know there's more people that feel that way. And if you guys, I know you're out there listening, let's just do this. The affidavit is in the description, just to do it. And yeah, I just want to, I'm ready to pray. You guys, anything else you want to share? Thank you so much for your
One
time
other
as
thing I was
always.
going to say is on our website also,
Yeah, it's gonna go.
you can find our book, Bypass the Banks, which gets
Oh, yeah,
into
I
a
got that
lot of
book.
constitutional positions from, throughout constitutional positions, and how we as the people have let our government slip away. Okay, right from the very beginning. This didn't happen 10 years ago. It happened right in the beginning.
All along.
And we illustrate how
Yeah.
it happened, how the communists have taken over, how the corporate state has taken over, and how they've made you essential slaves. And that's what you are. Okay. They use economic violence against you all the time. They use not lawful, but legal violence against you all the time. Okay.
Yes.
This shows you how you can protect your own rights, understand what's going on in the country. And there's a passage towards the end of the book, which consists of about 400 pages, which
Yeah,
tells
it's a big
people
book. I have it.
how they can buy, sell, and finance homes, real estate, and property of any type without banks, going person to person, principal to principal.
Right.
And as long as you have
Nice.
two principals who can agree on a contract,
And a
you can buy and
contract.
sell any way you want.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the key, you guys. If you're watching this, contracts are the key, and contracts are our constitutional right to
Yes.
bypass the government's BS over what we do.
That's
So I
right.
freaking love that. I love that. That's why, if you go to Blossom Inner Wellness, you can't get into any of my programs unless you sign the private membership agreement, because it's a contract. So I just love it. I love what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, let's do a quick prayer, everyone. Great Spirit, infinite intelligence of all things. What a game we came to play together. I'm just so grateful for Margie and Jack Flynn for all of their amazing tenacity that they have, for their work that they've done for the American people, supporting so many people over 70 years to understand what the Constitution is and the protection that it gives us for the unalienable rights, Great Spirit, infinite creator, that you gave us at birth, that nobody can take away. So I give so much gratitude to all people who have done an affidavit, and to all people who are stepping forward saying, I'm going to do one. I want to fight for my rights. I want to protect this country and bring this country back to the freedom that we know is our birthright. And I just see this world in harmony. I just see the dark entities who have done so much violence and harm to humanity being peaceably removed from office or voluntarily stepping down. I see this world in a completely new frequency of love and of harmony, where each person, we care for each other as if that person was ourself, as if what that person is going through, we are going through. And we stand up together, we stand up for each other. And I give so much gratitude for the court system, for when we take the governor of Hawaii and all the people, city council members, county council members, when we go into court, we know that you, Great Spirit, are on our side. You are with us every step of the way. You are shining light on that court, that it become a constitutional court again, not a corporation court, but a constitutional court. And we see that the rightness of what is happening for the people is here. It is done. It is done. It is done. And the freedom that we all want around the world, the harmony, the safety for our children, for ourselves, the abundance of living in absolute freedom and joy, and living a life that we are passionate about, that brings us happiness. We just know it is done, Great Spirit. It is done through you, through us. Thank you so much for the courage to take one step forward, one action forward today, and the next, and the next, and the next, until it is done. We know that it is absolutely taken care of, and so it is.
So it is.
So it is.
Mahalo, you guys, so much, and I will see you next time. And again, you guys, please check out their website, citizensoftheamericanconstitution.net. Much aloha and mahalo.
Mahalo.
Much
Bye-bye.
aloha. Mahalo.